Hi, I'm Harlow. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. One click from you means more stories can be shared. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers and make a difference. Let's begin. He's going to freak when he sees you, Sarah said, applying another coat of mascara as we got ready. How long has it been? 3 years, I replied, smoothing down my navy dress. 3 years since I walked out of the family dinner where he announced he was the new CEO. The job that should have been yours, Sarah reminded me. I still don't understand how your dad didn't see through him. I picked up the small gift-wrapped box from my dresser. Dad always saw what Eric wanted him to see. The dutiful son, the business prodigy. And tonight's the night you finally show everyone who Eric really is? I nodded, sliding the box into my purse. Tonight's his 40th birthday party. The Golden Boy celebrates another milestone. Except this gift is going to change everything. Are you nervous? Sarah asked. Terrified, I admitted. But I've spent the last 18 months gathering everything I need. The watch is just the beginning. What if he denies everything? Sarah asked, fixing her lipstick. You know how convincing he can be. That's why we have Melissa on our side, I replied. His own wife's testimony will be hard to dismiss. Plus, I have documentation for everything. I'll be right there with you, Sarah promised. Just like we planned. Act normal, I said, checking my reflection. Eric can't suspect anything. The valet took my car at my father's estate, where Eric now lived. The Georgian mansion loomed against the evening sky, windows ablaze with light. Your brother really does know how to throw a party, Sarah whispered. I forced a smile. Eric has always excelled at spending other people's money. Harlow? A familiar voice called. Is that really you? I turned to see Melissa, Eric's wife, rushing toward me. She embraced me tightly. I'm so glad you came, she said. Eric said you weren't going to make it. I decided to surprise him, I replied, watching her reaction carefully. Something flickered in Melissa's eyes. He'll be surprised, all right. She lowered her voice. We need to talk later. Privately. Before I could respond, she was called away by a caterer, leaving me puzzled. That was weird, Sarah murmured as we moved toward the bar. Everything about tonight is going to be weird, I said, accepting a glass of champagne. Harlow? My father's voice boomed across the room. My God, is that you? Vincent Reynolds crossed the room with surprising speed for a man of 72. Hi, Dad, I said as he pulled me into a hug. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? He asked, his eyes bright. It's Eric's birthday, I replied simply. I thought it was time to reconnect. Dad beamed. That's wonderful. He's been under so much stress with the company expansion. Having you here will mean the world to him. I bit back a reply about whose company it actually was. I'm sure he's doing a fantastic job. He is. The Reynolds name has never been stronger, Dad said proudly. But tell me about you. Still at that startup in Chicago? Actually, I founded my own tech consultancy 2 years ago. We're doing quite well. Dad's eyebrows shot up. You never told me that. I sent you emails about it. Several, actually. He looked confused. I never got them. Eric manages my correspondence these days. Of course he did. I'll tell you all about it later, Dad. Is Richard here tonight? I heard about his partnership with Eric. Dad nodded enthusiastically. Richard's been a godsend. He and Eric have taken the security division to new heights. With my security protocols, I muttered under my breath. As Dad wandered off, Sarah squeezed my arm. So Eric's been intercepting your emails to your father? That's next-level manipulation. That's just the tip of the iceberg, I replied. Come on, I need to find Richard before Eric sees me. We found Richard by the grand piano, deep in conversation with 2 investors. Harlow Reynolds, he said, excusing himself. I thought you fell off the face of the earth. Hello, Richard, I said, shaking his hand. It's been a while. 3 years, if I recall. Not since that rather uncomfortable family dinner. Sarah discreetly slipped away to give us privacy. I understand congratulations are in order, I said. Your partnership with Eric has been quite successful. Richard's smile tightened. The Reynolds Security Division is revolutionizing corporate security. Our adaptive firewall system is being implemented across Fortune 500 companies. My adaptive firewall system, I corrected quietly. Richard's eyes widened. I'm sorry? The system you're selling, it's based on my prototype, the one I presented to the board before Eric pushed me out. Richard glanced around nervously. Harlow, I don't know what you're talking about. Eric developed that system himself. I smiled coolly. Did he explain how the quantum encryption protocol works? Or did he just hand you my research notes? Color drained from Richard's face. He said you abandoned the project, that you gave him permission to develop it. I have the original code timestamps and development logs that prove otherwise, I said, along with emails where Eric specifically told me the board rejected the concept entirely. Harlow, if what you're saying is true. Richard's voice trailed off. Every word, I assured him, and all documented in case you're wondering. Why are you telling me this now? Because, unlike my brother, I don't enjoy blindsiding people. Richard loosened his tie. I need a drink. One more thing, I said as he turned to leave. When did Eric give you my grandfather's watch to analyze? He froze. How did you know about that? So he did show it to you. He wanted to know its value, Richard admitted. Said it was a family heirloom he was considering selling. And what did you tell him? That it was worth at least $80,000, given its provenance. Thank you for your honesty, Richard. You might want to distance yourself from Reynolds Security. Things are about to get complicated. As Richard hurried away, Sarah rejoined me. Well, how did that go? Exactly as expected, I replied. Eric told him I abandoned my security system prototype. Meanwhile, he's been selling it as his own creation. And the watch? Eric had it appraised. He's been planning to sell it. Sarah whistled low. Your grandfather's watch that supposedly got stolen during the home renovation 3 years ago? The very same. The watch my grandfather left specifically to me in his will, which mysteriously disappeared before I could claim it. The crowd suddenly hushed as Eric entered the main hall. My brother looked exactly as I remembered, tall, broad-shouldered, with our father's commanding presence and our mother's charming smile. Thank you all for coming tonight, he announced, champagne glass raised. Turning 40 isn't as traumatic as they say when you're surrounded by the people you love and respect. Eric's gaze swept the room and suddenly locked with mine. For a split second, his confident facade cracked. And is that my sister Harlow? He said, recovering quickly. What an unexpected surprise. Come up here, sis. The crowd turned to stare at me. I felt Sarah give me a gentle push forward. Go get him, she whispered. I moved through the parting crowd, heart hammering but steps steady. Harlow, Eric said, embracing me for the benefit of the onlookers. I didn't think you'd make it. I wouldn't miss it for the world, I replied, matching his fake warmth. Happy birthday, brother. It's been too long, he said, keeping an arm around my shoulders. Everyone, this is my brilliant little sister who's been off making her mark in Chicago. Actually, I've been quite successful, I said, still smiling. My tech consultancy has been working with several major corporations on their security infrastructure. Eric's arm tightened around me. Always the computer genius of the family. I got the business sense. She got the tech skills. Speaking of gifts, I said, reaching into my purse. I brought you something special for your birthday. Eric's eyes tracked my movement as I pulled out the small gift box. You didn't have to do that, he said, but his hand was already reaching for it. Oh, but I did, I replied. Open it. The room watched as Eric unwrapped the box and lifted the lid. His face went completely blank. It's beautiful, isn't it? I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Grandfather's watch. The one that was stolen during the renovation. Eric stared at me, speechless. Except it wasn't stolen, was it, Eric? I continued pleasantly. I found it when I was helping Melissa organize your home office last week. Melissa stepped forward. I asked Harlow to help me surprise you by reorganizing your office for your birthday. We found it in a hidden compartment in your desk. Eric's head whipped toward his wife. You went through my desk? I wanted to surprise you, Melissa replied innocently. I had no idea we'd find something so valuable. But this watch was stolen, Eric insisted, looking at our father. Dad, remember? We filed a police report. Then how did it end up in your desk? I asked. And why did you have Richard appraise it 6 months ago? Richard, who had been trying to blend into the wallpaper, suddenly found himself the center of attention. Richard? My father asked, confusion etching deeper lines into his face. I thought it was just a family matter, Richard stammered. It is a family matter, I agreed. A matter of theft, lies, and betrayal. This is ridiculous, Eric snapped, his charm evaporating. Harlow's always been jealous of my success. She's trying to embarrass me at my own birthday party. I'm not the one who stole a watch that grandfather explicitly left to me in his will, I replied calmly. Just like I'm not the one who stole my security system prototype and presented it as your own work. A murmur ran through the crowd. Dad, Eric appealed to our father. You know how emotional Harlow gets. She's always had these wild accusations. Is it true? Dad asked, his voice quavering. About the watch? Of course not, Eric insisted. Then why did you have it appraised? Melissa asked. I found the appraisal document too, Eric. You're taking her side? Eric glared at his wife. I'm on the side of truth, Melissa replied. Just like I was when I showed Harlow the financial records you've been hiding from your father. What financial records? Dad demanded. I reached into my purse again and pulled out a USB drive. The records showing how Eric has been siphoning company funds into personal accounts for the last 3 years. The same 3 years that Reynolds Technologies has reported surprisingly narrow profit margins despite record sales. This is slander, Eric shouted. Dad, you can't believe this. I have the banking records, Eric, I said quietly, and the timestamps proving I created the security system you're selling as your own. You set me up, he said, realization dawning. This whole thing, Melissa organizing my office, it was all a setup. No, Eric, I replied. You set yourself up the moment you decided to steal from your family. The room erupted in whispers. Eric's face contorted with rage. Get out, he hissed at me. Get out of my house. It's not your house, my father said, his voice stronger now. It's my house, and I think you're the one who needs to leave, Eric. Eric looked around wildly, seeing the judgment in everyone's eyes. Dad, you can't be serious. Everything I've done has been for this family, for the company. Save it for the board meeting on Monday, I cut in, where I'll be presenting evidence of your embezzlement and intellectual property theft. Eric lunged at me suddenly, grabbing my arm. You think you can just waltz back in and take everything I've built? Security guards moved quickly, pulling Eric away from me. The watch fell from his hand, clattering to the floor. Don't touch me, Eric shouted. Do you know who I am? Eric Reynolds, I answered, picking up the watch. Soon to be former CEO of Reynolds Technologies and defendant in multiple lawsuits. Eric struggled against the guards. You'll regret this, Harlow. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Actually, I do, I replied. That's why I recorded everything you just said. The guards escorted a still shouting Eric from the room, leaving behind a stunned silence. My father approached me slowly. Harlow, is all this true? About the company funds? I handed him the USB drive. See for yourself, Dad. I've spent 18 months tracking Eric's activities after Melissa contacted me with concerns. Melissa stepped forward. I noticed discrepancies in our personal finances last year. When I questioned Eric, he became defensive. That's when I reached out to Harlow. Dad's shoulders sagged. I trusted him completely. He manipulated all of us, Dad, I said gently. But now we have a chance to make it right. Dad looked at the watch in my hand. This belongs to you. Your grandfather wanted you to have it. I know, I said, fastening it around my wrist. And now I do. Later that night, after most guests had departed, Melissa and I sat on the terrace with Sarah. Do you think he'll face jail time? Melissa asked. That depends on whether Dad presses charges, I replied. The embezzlement is clear-cut fraud. I've already contacted a divorce attorney, Melissa said. I can't stay married to someone I don't recognize anymore. What will you do now? Sarah asked me. Move back to run the company? I looked down at my grandfather's watch, ticking steadily on my wrist. Dad and I talked about co-leadership. He'll handle client relationships while I focus on innovation and new technologies. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the night breeze carrying away the last remnants of the disastrous party. For someone who just exposed her brother as a thief and fraud at his own birthday party, you seem remarkably calm, Sarah observed. I smiled, feeling truly at peace for the first time in years. Because justice doesn't always require drama or vengeance. Sometimes it just needs truth and patience. I looked up at the stars. The question isn't whether you'll face betrayal in life. You will. The real question is, when someone shows you their true colors, do you have the courage to believe them the first time? Or will you keep searching for excuses to paint them in a better light? What would you have done in my situation? Would you have confronted your brother publicly or handled things differently? I'm curious what you would have done if faced with such betrayal from someone you trusted.